What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sport topic, and today we're going to talk some basketball. Orlando Magic basketball. Now, over the weekend, the Orlando Magic and head coach Steve Clifford decided to have a mutual parting of ways. We already know what that means when they say they're mutually parting ways. The team basically let them go. And to be honest with y'all, I'm not surprised. Now, I did kind of think that maybe possibly they would let him come back another year and coach the next group of guys, at least start them guys off. Because you're not going to be tanking again next year like how you were this year. You're not going to be trying to competing to try to get the first pick in the draft and be in the top 3 of the draft lottery like they are this year. So I don't think that that's going to be the case going forward. So I thought they would probably give him another year, but definitely I'm not surprised about them deciding to move on. I think it's the right decision. When you have the youngest team in the NBA, which the Magic currently are the youngest team in the NBA, Steve Clifford is not the right coach. I thought that eventually, even with if you kept the team how it was constructed with AG, with Vooch, with Fournier, that eventually you kept on hitting your head on the glass ceiling that you're going to move on from Steve Clifford anyway. So definitely you're going to have to move on from him if you're deciding to go young and try to build up some young talent and build around Isaac and Fultz. So I think it's the right decision. And like I said, I actually got some candidates, some guys who I think who should the Orlando Magic should go after. I mean, now with the job being open, I got 5 candidates I really think the Magic should really consider. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Things that I'm looking for in the next head coach. One, I want a former player, a former NBA player. I would hope that the former player that they get is a guard, like a former guard now turned coach, because this team going forward should be very guard centric. I mean, you got Fultz who you paid. You just drafted Cole, and you seen what he did his rookie year. You trade for R.J. Hampton. You see the flashes in him, and hopefully, if everything breaks right with the draft lottery in the NBA draft, you're either going to bring in a Cade Cunningham or Jalen Green. So you definitely want somebody that can understand what they're going through and can help teach them, help them further along. So you want a guy who's a former NBA player who's played at a high level and also was and also as a guard. I know we had Jack Vaughn. I know Vaughn was a former NBA player, played for the Magic. Same thing with Scott Skiles, former NBA player, former player for the Magic. And I think Scott Skiles still has the assist record for the Magic for the most assists in the game. Might have the most assists in the game in the NBA. I might have the most assists in the NBA game. I know he has the most assists for the Magic, but he might have the most assists in the game. Period. Still, other than that, like not a guy who's playing at an NBA high level. And that's what I'm looking for. And also, I want to get some new talent in here, and from a coaching standpoint, because this is the same retread of 20 to 25 guys that getting rotating the same rotation, and that's the reason why you don't get new head coaches. You don't get a youth movement when it comes to the coach. I'm not just talking about youth from an age standpoint. I'm talking about just some new guys, some new coaches, because you keep on rotating the same guys. Like I've been hearing Dan Tony's name being brought up. I don't think you should go after D'Antoni. This Magic team is not constructed properly for D'Antoni. You don't have a Steve Nash or a James Harden. You don't even have a Jeremy Lin type. Like, and then you don't have the 3-point shooters, because the way he runs his offense, he needs 3-point shooting. We don't have legit 3-point shooting like that, where everybody on the team shoots threes. And really, what success has D'Antoni brought? Phoenix, the Knicks, the Lakers, and the Rockets. Yes, he has 2 MVPs in Steve Nash, and also has an MVP in James Harden. I know he made the conference finals recently with James Harden and the Rockets. I don't know if he made the conference. Did he make the conference finals with the Suns? He might have. I can't really remember. But I know his time in New York and his time in LA were disastrous. Without a Steve Nash or James Harden, it doesn't do anything for me. So, and then you want to just keep on rotating because he's a name? I don't think so. Like I said, I got 5 guys that I think the Magic should legitimately look at. And the first guy, number 5, I think the Magic should go after Chauncey Billups. He's obviously he's a former NBA player, NBA champion, Finals MVP for the Detroit Pistons. He's a 5-time All-Star, second team All NBA. 2-time third team All NBA, 2-time All second team All Defense, and right now he's the assistant coach for the Clippers who's in the playoffs as is currently going on right now. Now I know that might be a whole different story the way the Clippers have been folding for the past 2 years when it comes to the playoffs, but it has more. I think that's more so to do with Paul George and the rest of the team. Maybe not all coaching, even though Doc Rivers is a little bit part of that in his history. Us Magic fans, we know that Will giving up 3-1 leads in the playoffs and things like that. But I just think he's a guy who, I mean, he has, he doesn't have a lot of coaching experience. I mean, he's only been coaching for the past 2 years. He's been around circles. I know at one point he was trying to be the general manager for the Cleveland Cavaliers back when LeBron was there, before LeBron ended up leaving and going to LA. But I think because he's a former player, and I think he could help mentor some of these young guys. It's like, especially if you're able to get a Kay Cunningham or Jalen Green, but guys like Fultz, guys like R.J. Hampton, guys like Cole Anthony, I think he can help those guys out a lot. And like, even though he doesn't have a lot of coaching experience, I'm gonna get into that because coaching experience is another word. It kind of sometimes quote unquote experience is another word for failure. Because a lot of times, like, because if a guy's good, they don't really get let go that often. It's very hard for good guys with a whole bunch of championship type of experience from a coaching standpoint. It's just free agents as a coach. Like, they just on the open market. That doesn't happen that often. But like I said, I think that he has capabilities. Like I said, he's another guy you get in. But that's why he's fifth on my list. But I think he's a guy who the Magic should consider. The fourth guy, the fourth guy on my list, who's Magic, I think the Orlando Magic should consider is a name that we know very, very well. That's Penny Hardaway. Right now he's the coach of Memphis. I know the report came out the other day. He said he's flattered that his name has been brought up, but he has no interest, or that he didn't say no interest. He just said he's flattered that his name is brought up, but he has he wants to finish what he started at his alma mater in Memphis. And that's all well and good. I don't believe anything that Penny's saying with that. Only thing that tells me is that he just doesn't. If the Magic don't even interview him, let alone give him the job, he can't go up there. Oh yeah, I want to be the Magic head coach. I would love to coach the Magic, and then don't even get interviewed, let alone get the job. Then got to run back and try to go in somebody's living room and recruit them to come to a school. When they're like, man, you already had one foot out the door. You was ready to leave to go to Orlando if they would have gave you the job. Like, I don't know if I want to go to Memphis. Let me go ahead and go to Kentucky. Let me go ahead and go to Tennessee. Like, let me go ahead and let me go somewhere else. So I'm not putting a whole bunch of stock into that comment. I think he's just make sure he don't want to upset the Memphis fans and things like that, and coming up Memphis players who he has to recruit. Now, people might want to say, okay, his coaching history. I know he's been coaching high school basketball. He was an assistant back in 15 to 17. He was the head coach from 17 to 18, and then from 18 into the present day, he's been the coach from Memphis. Didn't get to the tournament, but they did win the NIT championship this past year for all it's worth. I'm not going to put a lot of stock into what he's done in college because you had the COVID situation last year. Then this year, the last 2 years, especially when it comes to college basketball and sports in general, has been completely messed up because of the pandemic. So I'm not going to put a lot of stock in that. But like I said, former Magic player, played at a very high level. I know people are like, oh, you're just using him. He's a name because he used to play for the Magic. And yes, that is somewhat true. And I shout out to the boys out there at the 6-man podcast. I had John Osborne here a couple of videos ago, and he said something that I kind of felt the same way when it came to Penny. And he said that the thing, like, one of his drawbacks about hiring Penny is if you have to let him go. And I actually understand that. I'm going to take it back to bring a football spin. The Tennessee Titans, end up hiring Mike Munchak, who was a former Oiler player, NFL Hall of Famer, and was a great player for their organization. They ended up hiring him as a head coach. It didn't work out well. Then they had to fire him. It's kind of weird to fire one of your greats. Same thing with me. I'm a Texas Tech fan when it comes to football. Before Patrick Mahomes, the best Texas Tech quarterback in our school's history was Cliff Kingsbury. You end up hiring Cliff Kingsbury to be the head coach, and then you end up having to fire him. It kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth when one of your former great players ends up coming as a coach. and they don't do well, and you have to let them go, it kind of fractures the relationship. It kind of stains it a little bit. So I understand that, kind of gives a black on the whole situation. I understand that, but from a basketball standpoint, I actually think that he would be a good guy, a good hire, because, like I said, former guard, a guy who could help people like Cole Anthony, R.J. Hampton, especially Markelle Fultz, because him and Markelle Fultz have a lot of similarities to me as far as be able to be a combo guard. I mean, Penny was one of the first guys who was able to be a legitimate combo guard, as far as point guard slash shooting guard, and that's something that you could do with Markelle Fultz. I think he could help develop Markelle Fultz a lot. I think he helped Markelle, and actually really R.J. Hampton as well. Those two guys are very, very key. I think R.J. Hampton and Markelle Fultz, he could pay off huge dividends for them if he's able to mentor them and get in the air. Now he can still do that, even though because he's a former Magic, but it's kind of different because he's a college coach, so he got his own thing. And I do think that he will be able to help the franchise out because I think he's a guy that guys will respect, even though these kids is young, they probably don't know nothing about Penny Hardaway, but he is a guy who he could definitely command their respect because they're in Orlando. So I'm pretty sure they've seen Penny and Shaq highlights since being in this organization. So I think he's a guy who can help them out a lot. And so I do think the Magic should be able to take a real look at him. It's not just for the name. Even though, yes, you bring in Penny, and if the Magic are good with Penny, then you can bring back Shaq and Horace Grant and Nick Anson ain't never left nowhere. D3, Dennis Scott. All these guys, because these are his former teammates, they would be out here cheering for him, especially if they make NBA final runs. Because when the Magic went to the finals with Dwight, the former Magic player, like I said, Nick Anson, like he was rooting for him, but you really didn't hear nobody just out there supporting Dwight Howard's run of the finals because maybe jealousy. I don't know what it was, but they really went out there just full-fledged supporting them. I know for a fact if Penny's in that situation, because that's a former teammate of theirs, they'll be out there all in the game, just like how we had Jameer Nelson and Hedo Turkoglu 2 years ago at the playoffs. They would be the whole playoff run, be out there in their Magic jerseys, ready to support the team, and I think that can bring back some energy and life to the organization outside of just winning. So that's my number 4 guy. My number 3 guy on my list is actually a guy who knows that Orlando Magic team that went to the finals very well, and that's Sam Cassell. Now he's a former champion. Actually beat the Magic back in '95 with the Houston Rockets. He's been coaching actually since '09. He's a 3-time champion. He won 2 titles with the Rockets and also won a title with the Celtics back in 2008. But he's been coaching since '09. He's been assistant coach at Washington from '09 to 2014. He's been assistant coach with the Clippers from 14 to 20. Now he's helping Doc in Philadelphia right now as being assistant coach in Philadelphia. He's been him and all the guys I'm about to name has been paying his dues as a coach. So you want to talk about experience? Cause I know people want to bring up about Penny. He ain't got enough experience. This guy here has the experience. He's been coaching. He's been coaching for over a decade, since 2009. He's been assistant coach. I think it's time for you to give him a shot. I think it's time for Sam Cassell to get a shot. I'm very high. Actually, when I first put together my list, I actually had Penny ahead of Sam, and I did some more research, and I'm like, you know what? Sam actually deserves a shot more than Penny. And I would give Penny the edge over him probably because it's an Orlando situation. But I think in any other team, I would definitely put Sam over Penny. So I'm going to put Sam over Penny in this situation as well. I think Sam, like I said, another former guard. He's a guy who's able to play defense, assist. I mean, I think he made one All-Star in his career, if I'm not mistaken. But he made one All-Star back in 2014. And second team 2004, and second team NBA in 2004 as well. But I think he's a guy who definitely can help mentor these guards. Like I say, this is very guard centric because I think this draft, with the talent that you have now, and also what you can get in the draft, you're going to be very guard heavy. I think that he can help mentor these guys, and he could definitely. He's been in the game for a while as far as a champion and a coach, and he has a championship pedigree. Him and Chauncey Billups both have both won titles on as being players, being point guards. So I definitely think that he can help these guys. He can help mentor these guys, and like I said, he's paid his dues. I think it's time for you to give him a shot. Now I know what I said earlier when I'm about to get the 2-1, because my 2-1 have basically been my same 2-1 for the longest. Since before we even hired Steve Clifford, I had these same guys 2-1 in the same order. I know what I said about no stop recycling guys. I'm gonna kind of contradict myself a little bit, even though because it's not really a recycle, but it's just giving guys another shot who deserve, in my personal opinion, who deserve another shot. My number 2 guy is Mark Jackson. It's Mark Jackson. I mean, people stop playing. Like, let's be real. Again, another former guard. He coached Golden State from 2011 to 2014. Come on, man. We already know what it is. And anybody want to say different, you kidding yourself. We already know that he is the person who helped grow Stephen Clay. Now, did I say he made Stephen Clay? No, Stephen Clay is Stephen Clay. But come on, though. We know that Golden State team was constructed with him. Just like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we know that team was constructed with Dungy, and then John Gruden came and won title with him. And that's the reason why John Gruden is ended up getting fired from Tampa Bay a couple years later, because he, once the attributes of that Tony Dungy team left, he wasn't any good. It didn't work anymore. Like that is Mark Jackson's team, and this whole him not even getting interviews is ridiculous. Like I believe he's a guy who showed you. He shows you with Golden State, especially be able to get a guy like Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green. Because I think Jalen Green is going to be a scorer. If you get somebody like that, he can help those guys. He can help develop those guys. Because that's what he did with Stephen Clay. He helped develop Stephen Clay. And if you say he didn't, you're kidding yourself. Stop hating. He actually really did help develop those guys. And I'm pretty sure he had faults. Obviously, he had faults with some of his rotation decisions. I get that. But he's been away from the game since 2014. It's been almost a decade since he's been away from coaching. But he still is on the. He's in every NBA Finals, so it's not like he's removed himself from the game. So he's very indulged in the game, very well. Him and Van Gundy are one of the best. That combo from calling the games is one of the best in the NBA. I think Van Gundy is the best. Is probably the best commentator when it comes to NBA basketball. So. Stop playing. So he's been around the game. He's still with the game. He needs a shot. And I'm pretty sure if you give him a shot, he's going to take it. He's going to help develop those guys. Now, my number 1 is Jason Kidd. Now, Jason Kidd was my number 1 a couple years ago before we hired Steve Clifford. And the main reason why is because I was hoping that we was going to end up getting Trae Young. And I thought that Trae Young had I know everybody talks about Trae Young shooting from the logo and things like that, and I get it. But I said when I watched Trae Young's tape coming out of Oklahoma, his best attribute was distributing the ball. To me, I thought it was very underrated. I think it was key how some of those passes he made. I thought that Jason Kidd would help him to be able to be that type of assist leader type player. And now, because we don't have Trae Young, we have more so a Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony, whatever. I'm kind of off of that a little bit, but the facts still remain. I think he's a good guy for this job. I know a lot of people don't like Jason Kidd, because of both Milwaukee and Brooklyn, and like I said about experience with success. I mean, another excuse for failure. Y'all gonna say Penny don't have no experience. But then Jason Kidd, who does have experience, I mean, Jason Kidd, he's an NBA champion as a player, 10-time All-Star, 5-time first team NBA, 1-time second All-NBA, 4-time first team All-Defense, 5-time second team All-Defense, co-rookie of the year, assist leader 5 times, and has a title as a player, like I said, and also now has a title as an assistant coach. He's coached. We coached Brooklyn from 13 to 14. Coached Milwaukee from 14 to 18. He's been assistant coach with the Lakers since 2019. And like I said, he's a 2-time. He's a champion. He's the only one out of these 5 guys who has a title on as a coach. 2 of those guys have titles as a player. He's the only guy that has a title as a coach. Yeah. And also, he helped develop Giannis. Again, if you don't think so, go look at Giannis. He helped develop Giannis. He did. Like I said, he helped develop Giannis. Like if you think he didn't, go back and look at Giannis before. Like how I go back and look at Giannis before and go and look how Giannis plays now. The MVP that we see Giannis now, that comes from being around Jason Kidd. And even though I think that, like I said, I want him to be with Trae Young, I actually think that if you got him, I think he could help both Jonathan Isaac and Mo Bamba. I really do. Part of the reason why both of them need to get on a better meal regimen. Jonathan Isaac is put on weight more so than Bamba has, and that's one thing. I think Bamba's too small, especially if he's going to be playing in that paint. I think he needs to put on a little bit more muscle, like a Giannis. Go back and look at Giannis when Giannis first came in the league, see how small Giannis was, and then Giannis, the MVP that we see right now. So I do think that Jason Kidd could help those guys. Not to mention, I believe he could help a Markelle Fultz and a Cole Anthony and R.J. Hampton and a potential Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green if you get those type of players. So I do think that those guys will help. I mean, he can't help those guys. That's why I still will have him as my number one. I know a lot of people don't want him, and there's a reason why somebody like Damian Lillard is out there advocating for him. Now, to be honest, a lot of y'all don't want him. I don't think we'll get him. And not because of the Magic. I don't think he'll take this job. Because I see Jason Kidd as a guy who wants a superstar on this team. So I can see him going and taking the Portland job. I can see him taking the Dallas job if the Dallas job becomes open because they got Luka. I see him going after somewhere, and I think that he's probably more likely feeling that he's the Lakers head coach in waiting, something like that. And so I think that's one of the strongest reasons. But there's no superstar right now on this team. So I don't see him taking this job, even if the job was offered to him. So I know y'all don't want him. More likely you're not going to get him. Not because the Magic don't want him. Even if the Magic want him, I don't think he'll take the job. But I do think that I would offer the job because I think he could help out this team. I really do. I think he can help out these guards. I also think he can help develop some of these guys, like I say, Jonathan Isaac, Mo Bamba, and potentially help Wendell Carter in some capacity as well. But those are my top five as it stands. Now, like I said about Dallas, if say Rick Carlisle gets removed or steps down or whatever, they have a mutual parting of ways, and Rick Carlisle's free, he will be my number one. He's a champion as a coach. He's a champion as a head coach. That's enough said. He would definitely be my number one. Just off of that alone, and like I said, I could see Jason Kidd taking that job. One, played at Dallas. It was one, drafted by Dallas. Two, won a championship at Dallas. Three, they have a star in Luka. So I definitely could see him taking that job if that job did become available. If that job does become available, you get Rick Carlisle on the phone right now and you give him that job because he's a guy, even though this is a young team, he is a guy who, and how he helped Dirk, how he coached with Dirk, I think he could coach. Even though he didn't help develop Dirk, because Dirk was an MVP before he got there, but he did win a title with Dirk. You have a player like Dirk, I think you could help out Jonathan Isaac with Rick Carlisle. I think that could help out a lot. But I was saying about Jason Kidd, another reason why you want to get Jason Kidd, because I think he could bring in superstardom. I think he could help recruit. If you want players like Damian Lillard, you want if a certain superstars get tired at where they at, like I say, if Dame wants out of Portland, if Spider Mitchell, if Donovan Mitchell ever gets tired of Utah, like you want those superstar type players, get you a coach who they want to come to play. They'll come to play for Jason Kidd. I guarantee you, Jason Kidd can bring in. Jason Kidd has that cachet that he can bring in other superstar players. It ain't also just about having superstars. You can get some of those superstars if you have a superstar coach. Like I said, Doc Rivers was able to get people to come play for him because of who he was. He had the type of cachet. I definitely think that Mark Jackson. I think Penny Hardaway, and I also think Jason Kidd, because I think other players will respect those guys. And like I said, three of these guys got championship experience on the court as far as basketball players. Both Jason Kidd has both. He has a coach. He has assistant. He has a title of assistant coach, and also has a title as a player. So those are my 5 guys. Like I say, number 1 is Jason Kidd. Number 2 is Mark Jackson. Number 3 is Sam Cassell. Number 4 is Penny, and number 5 is Chauncey Billups. I'm happy with any of those guys. Like I said, I think those 4 guys outside Jason Kidd will take this job. Maybe Penny could still decide to stay in college because it is his alma mater. But I know Sam Cassell and Mark Jackson, you give them the job, they taking it. You offer them this job, they taking it. I know Mark Jackson wants to get back in coaching, and I know that Sam has been coaching for a long period of time. And I'm really high on Sam. I actually think that I think if we hire Sam, I'll be very excited. I'd be happy if you get any of these 5 guys. Jason Kidd, like I said, is my number 1, but I don't think they'll go after him. And if they did go after him, I don't see him taking the job because I just think he got too much cachet to be like. He wants a superstar, or he feels like he is a Lakers job in the bag whenever they get tired of vocal. So, like I said, those are my 5 guys. Like I said, I'll do it one time. Number 5, Chauncey Billups. Number 4, Penny Hardaway. Number 3, Sam Cassell. Number 2, Mark Jackson, and number 1 is Jason Kidd. Those are my top 5. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Comment below if you haven't. Click that bell, get more videos. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I'll holler.